Welcome back. Tonight, we drift through the sleepy streets of Santorini. So wherever you are, however your day has been, you have nothing to do now but rest. There are no twists tonight, nothing to follow, nothing you need to remember in the morning. A city of white walls and dark cliffs, growing still beneath the deep blue dusk, will drift slowly, in no hurry to be anywhere at all. If these journeys help you rest, you're welcome to follow along, but only if you'd like to. And if you're listening now, leave the name of your city and the time where you are. Wherever you're listening from, you're in good company tonight. So let yourself settle. Let your shoulders soften, and let your eyes close whenever they're ready. Breathe in slowly, and let it go. There's no need to stay awake for any of this. Just let the streets of Santorini come to you. The very shape of Santorini conveys a story of immense power, appearing on a map as a delicate crescent moon adrift in the Aegean Sea. This distinctive curve is not a gentle bay, patiently carved by the tides over millennia, but is instead a profound scar, the remnant of a single catastrophic event. Before this transformation, the island was a complete circle known as Strongheil, or the Round One. Then, around 1600 BCE, the volcano at its heart awoke with unfathomable fury, expelling the island's center into the atmosphere. The unsupported land collapsed into the void, leaving behind this broken embrace of cliffs encircling the sea. The iconic form we recognize today is the direct consequence of that ancient violence, a constant, quiet reminder of the world-changing force that sleeps just below the water's calm surface. The island's very form is a memory of fire and its own sudden, violent genesis. The deep blue circle of water at the island's core is not merely a portion of the Aegean Sea, but something else entirely. This is the caldera, a vast and flooded geological basin. When the volcano erupted, its subterranean magma chamber emptied in a cataclysmic rush of fire and ash, leaving a hollowed void beneath the land. The ground above, now utterly unsupported, collapsed into this emptiness, and the sea rushed in to fill the newly formed crater. So when you gaze down from the cliffs, you are peering into the very throat of the volcano itself. The calm, still surface of the water conceals a depth of hundreds of meters, a place of profound quiet born from an impossibly loud event. This tranquil surface, resting over a violent past, is a liquid monument to the mountain that once stood here. The villages that cling so precariously to the cliffs appear to have been built for the magnificent view, as if their placement was intended for postcards and sunset gazing. Their origin, however, has nothing to do with beauty, and everything to do with a long history of fear. For centuries, the Aegean was a perilous place, prowled by pirates who raided coastal settlements. To survive, The people of Santorini had to become invisible, building their homes high on the cliffs, and turning them away from the open water. The villages were designed as a form of camouflage, intended to be unseen by a passing ship, which would perceive only sheer, uninhabited rock. The breathtaking views that now draw millions are a beautiful, unintended consequence of a long and desperate struggle for survival. These towns were not idyllic retreats. They were fortresses hidden in plain sight, a testament to quiet resilience. The name we use for the island, Santorini, does not actually possess Greek roots, but is instead a linguistic relic from a different empire and a different era. During the 13th century, the Venetian Empire held considerable sway over the Aegean, and its sailors required reliable landmarks for navigating these waters. They found their point of reference in a small chapel dedicated to Saint Irene, or Santa Irene, in their language. This humble church, likely situated near the coast, became their navigational marker. Over time, the name for the landmark was gradually applied to the entire island, as generations of sailors smoothed Santa Irene into the single word we know today. The name is a quiet echo of Venetian maritime power, reminding us that this island has long been a crossroads for empires, its identity shaped by the languages of those who passed through and left their marks in small, yet lasting ways. In July of 1956, the island's ancient volcano stirred once more, not with an eruption, but with a violent tremor. A powerful earthquake, the most devastating in a century, shook Santorini to its very core. While the entire island suffered damage, the village of Oia was hit with particular ferocity, as its delicate cliffside houses, many of them centuries old, crumbled and collapsed into the caldera. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble in a matter of moments, a tragedy that triggered a mass exodus from the island. Thousands of residents, their homes and livelihoods destroyed, were forced to leave in search of safety and employment elsewhere. For years afterward, parts of Oia and other villages remained as little more than ghost towns, a landscape of silence and ruin that served as a stark reminder of the island's profound geological fragility. From the profound tragedy of the 1956 earthquake, a new and unexpected version of Santorini was gradually born. The rebuilding effort was slow and arduous, but as the island began to piece itself back together, a new aesthetic began to emerge. The new structures were simple and clean, following the organic curves of the land, partly out of necessity, and a reliance on traditional building methods. At the same time, global travel was becoming more accessible, and a new kind of tourist seeking authenticity and stark beauty began to discover the quiet, ruined island. These early visitors were drawn to the minimalist style that was rising from the rubble. This convergence of post-disaster rebuilding and the dawn of modern tourism inadvertently created the iconic look of Santorini we know today. The island's celebrated beauty is not only ancient, but also a modern creation. born from disaster and reinvention. Long before the world came to Santorini for its sunsets, it came for its very soil. For a significant period in its history, the island's most valuable export was not the experience of tourism, but the rock of which it is made. The ground here is rich in pumice stone, and a volcanic ash known as pozzolana, materials discovered to have incredible properties when mixed into cement. They create a hydraulic concrete that possesses the rare ability to harden underwater. During the 19th century, this Santorinian earth was in high demand for one of the world's greatest engineering projects. It was quarried from the cliffs and shipped to Egypt, where it was used to create the mortar that lines the Suez Canal. It is a curious thought that the canal connecting the Mediterranean to the Red Sea is held together, in part, by the pulverized remnants of Santorini's ancient volcanic explosion. The island's reach was global, long before the first tourists arrived. The soil of Santorini presents a profound paradox for agriculture, as it is arid, harsh, and seemingly inhospitable. For a grapevine, this is a place of constant struggle, where the volcanic ash and pumice hold very little water, forcing the vines to grow their roots deep into the earth, in a desperate search for moisture. The plants are perpetually stressed, fighting against the dry soil and the strong Aegean winds. Yet, this very struggle is the secret to the island's remarkable wine. The stress on the vine concentrates the flavor within the grapes, producing a fruit with an intense, mineral character that is directly perceptible in the finished wine. It is a flavor that speaks of its origins, the volcanic soil, the sea mist, and the sun. This difficult land, paradoxically, yields a gift of unique and profound flavor, a liquid expression of the island's own resilience. Within the village of Oya, nestled among the smaller, humble cave houses, you can see grander and more ornate buildings. These are the capetanospita, the captain's houses, which stand as elegant reminders of an era when Santorini's wealth came not from visitors, but from the sea itself. During the 19th century, Oya was home to a powerful merchant fleet, and the island's captains and shipowners grew rich, trading local wine and textiles across the Mediterranean, and as far as the Black Sea. With the fortunes they amassed from this global trade, they built these impressive homes, which are larger, and feature neoclassical details that set them apart from the simpler vernacular architecture. These houses were statements of success, built with worldly wealth, telling the story of a different Santorini, a powerful maritime hub, whose grandest homes were funded by the profits of a global trade network. To wander the back streets of villages like Pyrgos or Emporio is to walk through a living defense system. The narrow, winding alleys feel ancient and charmingly chaotic, but their design is not at all random. These are the remnants of Venetian, Castelia, fortified settlements that were built to protect the population from frequent pirate raids. The labyrinthine streets were a deliberate defensive strategy, designed to confuse and disorient any attackers who might breach the outer walls. An invading pirate would find himself lost in a maze of tight corners, dead ends, and passages that led nowhere, while the houses themselves formed the walls of the fortress. Walking here, you can still feel the defensive purpose in the enclosing walls and narrow passages. This charming maze was once a desperate and clever tool for survival in a dangerous world. The enduring image of Santorini is one of uniform, brilliant white, which feels like a tradition that must be ancient, stretching back for centuries. The island-wide whitewashing, however, is a surprisingly modern phenomenon. For most of its history, the island's buildings were the natural colors of stone and earth, with only occasional patches of color. The all-white look was widely adopted in the mid-20th century, and was even mandated by the Greek government for a time, beginning in the 1930s and gaining popularity after the war. There was a significant practical reason for this policy. The lime-based paint, known as asbestos, has natural disinfectant properties, which was believed to help control the spread of diseases like cholera. The aesthetic that now defines the island, and draws millions of admirers, began, in large part, as a public health measure, its iconic beauty, an unintended side effect of a very practical decision. For a very long time, the known history of Santorini effectively began with the Great Eruption. But in 1967, that understanding changed completely. The Greek archaeologist Spiridon Marinatos began excavating near the village of Akrotiri, pursuing a theory that connected the lost city of Atlantis to the volcanic explosion. What he ultimately found was perhaps even more remarkable. Buried under many meters of volcanic ash, he uncovered an entire Bronze Age city, a Minoan settlement frozen in time at the moment, just before the eruption. The state of preservation was astonishing, revealing multi-story buildings, paved streets, and a complex plumbing system. Most incredibly, the walls were covered in vibrant frescoes, paintings that offered a vivid window into the lives of these ancient people. The discovery of Akrotiri completely rewrote the island's history, proving that a sophisticated, wealthy and artistic society had thrived here long before the volcano wiped the slate clean. For centuries, the sweet, sun-dried wine of Santorini, known as Vinsanto, was the island's liquid gold, a major export prized for its rich and complex flavor. One of its largest and most important markets was Tsarist Russia, where the Russian Orthodox Church used Vinsanto as its communion wine. This created a huge and stable demand for the island's most famous product, with ships laden with barrels of the sweet wine regularly making the long journey to the Black Sea. In 1917, however, this vital economic lifeline was suddenly severed. The Russian Revolution led to the collapse of the Tsarist regime and the rise of an anti-religious state, causing the market for communion wine to vanish almost overnight. For Santorini, It was an economic disaster that forced the island to pivot, its economy shaken by a political upheaval thousands of miles away, a hard lesson in the fragility of distant trade. In the center of the caldera's blue expanse sit two small, dark islands that look ancient, like primordial remnants of the original landmass. But Nea Kameni and Pelea Kameni are, in fact, the youngest land in the entire Mediterranean. They are not pieces of the old island, but new land, born from the volcano itself. After the Great Collapse, the volcano did not die. It is merely sleeping, and over the last 500 years, smaller eruptions on the caldera floor have pushed this new land up from the depths. Pelea Kameni, the old burnt island, appeared first, while Nea Kameni, the new burnt island, is still actively growing, with its most recent eruption in the 1950s. These dark, smoking islands are a stark and constant reminder that the creative and destructive force that shaped Santorini is not a part of history, but a living, breathing presence, quietly building a new mountain in the heart of the old one. The first international visitors to arrive on Santorini in the 19th century were not looking for a place to relax, nor were they tourists in the modern sense. They were scientists, geologists and archaeologists, drawn to the island not by its beauty, but by its profound mysteries. The dramatic caldera presented a perfect natural laboratory for the emerging science of geology, offering clear, accessible evidence of volcanic processes on a massive scale. At the same time, Plato's legend of Atlantis was gaining new scholarly attention, and some began to theorize that the story was a folk memory of Santorini's great eruption. These early travelers came with notebooks and scientific instruments, not swimsuits, arriving to measure, sketch and theorize. They were pioneers, drawn by the intellectual challenge of understanding this strange and violent landscape, making the island's first tourism a scientific quest. Across the caldera from the bustling villages of Fir and Oya lies the island of Thracia, the other, quieter piece of the caldera's broken rim. When the volcano erupted, Thracia was violently severed from the main island, a physical separation that led to a cultural one as well. While Santorini developed over the centuries, attracting trade and eventually mass tourism, Thracia remained largely isolated, and life here continued, at a much slower pace. It has therefore preserved a vision of what Santorini was like before the crowds and the rapid development, with small villages, quiet roads and rhythms of life still tied to farming and fishing. Looking from Thracia towards the main island is like looking across time, as you can see the bright, busy villages as distant, miniature clusters of white. It is a powerful reminder of how a single geological event can create two very different destinies for two pieces of the same land. Today, it is quite easy to drive from one end of Santorini to the other, on a modern, paved road. But this is a very recent development in the island's long history. Until the 1970s, there were very few proper roads suitable for cars. The primary method of moving between villages, or transporting goods from the fields to the port, was a network of stone-paved paths called calderemia. These paths were not designed for vehicles, but were built specifically for donkeys, which for centuries were the island's main form of transportation. The paths are steep, narrow, and follow the natural contours of the land. The paving of the main roads fundamentally changed the flow of life on the island, shifting its economy and the way people interacted. The old stone paths still exist, but they are now quiet walking trails, echoes of a time when the pace of life was determined by the steady tread of a donkey. While walking through Fira, the island's capital, you might notice the bell towers of two grand cathedrals in close proximity. One is the brilliant white Orthodox Metropolitan Cathedral, while the other is the creamy yellow and blue Catholic Cathedral of St. John the Baptist. Their nearness to one another is a living testament to the island's complex history. The presence of a significant Catholic community is a direct legacy of Venetian rule, which began in the 13th century. Although the majority of the population remained Greek Orthodox, the Venetian ruling class established their own churches and their own faith. The two communities have coexisted for centuries, sometimes in tension, and sometimes in harmony. The side-by-side cathedrals are a physical representation of this dual heritage, a quiet reminder that Santorini's identity was shaped not just by Greece, but by the wider European powers that once controlled the trade routes of the Aegean Sea. For centuries, the only way to travel from the old port up to the town of Fira was to climb nearly 600 steep stone steps, an arduous journey for people and for the donkeys that carried goods. In 1979, a modern solution arrived in the form of the Fira cable car. This was not a government project, but a donation to the island from the Nomikos family, a wealthy ship-owning family with deep roots in Santorini. The installation of the cable car was a pivotal moment, as it fundamentally changed how people and goods moved up and down the sheer cliff face. It made the journey effortless and fast, shifting the main flow of tourist traffic away from the traditional donkey path. The cable car represents the island's transition into the modern era of tourism, a piece of engineering that altered a centuries-old pattern of movement in just a few short years. The sheer drama of Santorini's creation and destruction has long captured the human imagination. In the 19th century, the French writer Jules Verne, fascinated by the island's geology, featured it in his novel, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, where Captain Nemo's submarine visits the still-active volcano in the caldera's center. Verne's story helped bring the island's unique landscape to a wider audience. Later, the island's story fueled one of the most enduring legends of all, as scholars and writers began to connect the details of the Minoan eruption with Plato's account of the lost city of Atlantis. They saw parallels in the sudden, catastrophic destruction of a sophisticated island civilization. The theory took hold in the popular imagination, and Santorini became more than just a Greek island. It became a leading candidate for a mythical lost world, a place where history and legend blur. There was a time when Santorini's great merchant fleet declined, its maritime power faded, and the wealth from sea trade eventually dried up. The island and its people had to find a new way to survive, so they turned away from the sea and looked inward, to the land itself. Generations of Santorinians became farmers and vintners, learning through trial and error how to cultivate the challenging volcanic soil. They discovered which crops could thrive in the arid climate with its strong winds, and they perfected the art of growing grapes that produced intensely flavored wines and tiny tomatoes that burst with sweetness. This was a period of quiet, inward focus, as the economy became local and agricultural. This deep connection to the land, born of necessity, created the unique culinary traditions that are still a vital part of the island's identity today. A quiet reinvention that shaped the soul of the island. Before the island had its modern names of Thera or Santorini, it possessed a much simpler and more descriptive one. In the time before the Great Eruption, when the land was whole, it was known as Strongheil. The name is Greek, and it means the round one, a name that speaks of a lost perfection, and a simple, complete form. It evokes an image of a single, circular island, perhaps a green and fertile paradise in the middle of the Aegean, with no caldera or sheer cliffs, just a gentle slope from a central mountain down to the sea. The name itself is a kind of ghost, a memory of a world that vanished in a flash of fire and ash. To know this name is to understand the profound loss that created the island we see today. Strongheil is the before in Santorini's story, a name for a place that exists now only in geological memory and the imagination. The Great Minoan eruption did not just destroy the island of Strongheil. Its effects rippled across the entire eastern Mediterranean. The explosion was so powerful that it triggered a massive tsunami, sending a colossal wave of water radiating outwards from the collapsing volcano. This wave traveled across the sea and slammed into the northern coast of the nearby island of Crete, which at the time was the center of the powerful and sophisticated Minoan civilization. The tsunami would have devastated their coastal towns, destroyed their fleet of ships, and inundated their fertile farmland with salt water. Many archaeologists believe this single event was the beginning of the end for the Minoans, a crippling blow from which their civilization never fully recovered. The volcano on Santorini didn't just take one island, it may have helped topple an entire civilization, thereby changing the course of history. While much of the world experienced rapid technological change in the mid-20th century, time on Santorini moved at a different pace. The island was isolated, its economy still recovering from the earthquake and the decline of its old industries. As a result, modern amenities like electricity were slow to arrive, not reaching many villages outside the main towns, until the 1970s. This late modernization had a profound effect, as it meant that traditional, pre-industrial ways of life persisted on the island much longer than in other parts of Europe. People lived by the cycles of the sun and the seasons, using oil lamps for light, and relying on age-old methods for farming and building. This prolonged isolation preserved a quiet, simple way of living, which ironically became one of the very qualities that attracted the first modern tourists, seeking an escape from their own electrified world. Below the dramatic cliffs of Oya lies the small, picturesque harbor of Amudi Bay, famous today for its seafood tavernas, where you can dine with your feet almost in the water. This charming spot, however, was once a vital commercial hub. For much of the 19th century, Amudi was a key port for Oya's powerful merchant fleet, its deep, sheltered water ideal for loading and unloading ships carrying wine and textiles. As sailing ships gave way to larger steamships, Amudi's small size became a liability, and the island's main commercial activity shifted to the new, larger port of Athenios, which could accommodate the massive ferries of the modern era. Amudi's decline as a commercial port and its rebirth as a tourist destination tells the story of the island's changing economy. The center of gravity shifted, leaving this beautiful bay to a quieter, more leisurely existence. Many of the most iconic homes in Santorini are not constructed in the traditional sense, stone by stone from the ground up. Instead, they are carved directly from the landscape, dug horizontally into the soft volcanic rock of the cliffs. These are the Yposkafa, the cave houses of the island, a building method born of poverty and necessity. The volcanic tuff was soft enough to excavate with simple tools, providing essential shelter for those who could not afford to build a freestanding house. The earth itself became the walls, the floor, and the ceiling. Today, these ancient cave dwellings have been transformed into some of the world's most unique and luxurious hotel suites, but their fundamental form remains unchanged. They follow the natural curves of the earth, a reminder that the island's architecture is a partnership between human hands and the volcanic landscape itself. The buried city of Akrotiri is often compared to Pompeii, yet the preservation here is in some ways even more remarkable. When the volcano erupted, it covered the city not in heavy lava, but in a light, fine-grained pumice and ash that acted as a perfect preservative, creating a time capsule of the Bronze Age. This material was so light that it did not crush the buildings, allowing archaeologists to uncover structures that are 2 and even 3 stories tall, their original walls still standing. Inside these homes, they found everyday objects exactly where they were left, with pottery still on the shelves, and furniture leaving perfect casts in the hardened ash. It is a city frozen in its final moments. Walking through the excavated site, under its modern protective roof, you can look up and see the second-story windows of a home from 3,600 years ago. The most iconic image of Santorini is that of a brilliant blue dome against a whitewashed wall, with the deep blue of the sea in the background. It has become a symbol of the island, and of Greece itself. These famous domes, however, are not found on private homes. They are exclusively the roofs of the island's many churches and chapels. The pairing of blue and white carries deep cultural significance, as it mirrors the colors of the Greek flag. During periods of foreign rule, particularly under the Ottomans, painting buildings in these national colors was a quiet, subtle act of resistance. It was a way of asserting Greek identity in a visible, public manner. So when you see that perfect combination of blue and white, you are looking at more than just a beautiful architectural choice. You are seeing a symbol of national pride, a quiet declaration of faith and identity painted against the sky. When archaeologists excavated Pompeii, they discovered the haunting forms of people caught in the final moments of the eruption. At Akrotiri, however, the story is profoundly different. In this entire, vast city, almost no human remains have ever been found, with the sole exception of a skeleton likely belonging to someone who died after the main evacuation. This striking lack of bodies tells a remarkable story, suggesting that the people of Akrotiri received a warning. Perhaps there were smaller earthquakes or emissions from the volcano in the days or weeks before the main event. Whatever the sign was, they understood its meaning, and executed a planned, orderly evacuation of their city. They gathered their most precious belongings, and they left, so the empty streets and abandoned homes speak not of a sudden tragedy, but of a successful escape. They saved themselves, even if they could not save their city from the coming ash. The journey from the old port of Fira up to the town is a formidable vertical climb. Today most people choose the modern convenience of the cable car, but for centuries, there was only one way up: the Karavokirides path. This winding staircase consists of 588 wide, shallow stone steps that zigzag relentlessly up the face of the sheer cliff. The path was not engineered for human convenience. It was built for donkeys, with steps spaced for their gait and corners wide enough for a loaded animal to turn. For generations, this was the island's main artery, the only way to transport goods, water and people from the sea to the town above. Walking it today, you can feel the history in the stones, worn smooth by millions of footsteps, both human and animal. It is a monument to a time when life on the island was defined by this slow, arduous, but steady climb. When you step inside a traditional Santorini building, you often find yourself beneath a curved, vaulted ceiling, a feature that is not simply a matter of style. The barrel vault shape is a brilliant piece of vernacular engineering, developed over centuries to deal with a constant and serious threat: earthquakes. The island is geologically active, and tremors are a recurring part of life. While a flat roof is vulnerable to collapse during a quake, the curved arch of a vaulted ceiling is incredibly strong. It distributes weight and stress evenly across the structure, allowing it to flex and move with the shaking ground without breaking. This architectural feature is a perfect example of how the island's builders learned to work with, rather than against, the powerful forces of nature. The beautiful, organic curves of the ceilings are a direct response to the ever-present possibility of the Earth moving, a design for survival that is also beautiful in its strength. The windmills of Oyer are among the most photographed landmarks on the island, standing on the northwestern edge of the village, with their silhouettes iconic against the sunset. Today they are beautiful relics, but they were once vital pieces of industrial machinery. Santorini is famous for the strong Aegean winds, especially the summer meltemi, and the islanders learned to harness this free and powerful source of energy. These windmills were positioned perfectly to catch the wind, their massive sails turning heavy millstones to grind the barley and wheat grown in the island's fields into flour for the community. They were the power plants of their day, essential to the local economy and food supply. Now silent, they stand as monuments to a time when the wind was not just a feature of the weather, but a crucial partner in daily work. Santorini has no rivers, and very few natural springs, which means that for thousands of years, the most precious resource on the island has been fresh water. To survive in this arid landscape, the islanders developed a clever and essential architectural feature for every traditional house: the sterna, an underground system. These were large waterproof chambers dug into the rock beneath the patio, or the house itself. The flat roofs and courtyards were designed to act as catch basins, so that every drop of winter rain was carefully channeled and collected into the sterna for storage during the long dry summer. This system made each household self-sufficient in water. The sterna was the hidden heart of the home, a subterranean reservoir of life, and a testament to the ingenuity required to create a sustainable existence in a place where water is a gift from the sky. From the village of Imeravigli, a rocky promontory juts out dramatically into the caldera. This is Scaros Rock, and while it looks like a wild, natural feature, it is actually the foundation of a lost city. This rock was once the site of the island's most important Venetian castle, and its medieval capital, a bustling administrative and military center. The castle, and the town that surrounded it, were built in the 13th century to be impregnable, and for centuries, it was considered the safest place on the island. However, time, earthquakes and erosion have taken their toll, and the castle and its buildings have crumbled away, leaving only the rock and a few faint traces of foundation walls. What appears to be a natural monument is, in fact, a tombstone for the island's medieval heart, a place of great power now reclaimed by nature. The winemakers of Santorini have always understood the critical importance of temperature in their craft. In a place with such intense summer heat, controlling the fermentation and aging of wine presents a major challenge. Their solution was to go underground. Traditional wineries, known as canarves, were not built as freestanding structures, but were dug into the soft volcanic soil, often partially or fully subterranean. This method provided a form of natural insulation, as the thick layer of earth maintained a stable, cool temperature year-round, without any need for modern technology. It created the perfect cellar environment for the delicate process of turning grapes into wine. Many of the island's modern wineries are still built on the sites of these old canals, some even incorporating the original caves into their new state-of-the-art facilities, a link to a tradition of working in harmony with the land. Protecting the fragile ruins of Akrotiri is a monumental undertaking, as the 3,600-year-old city, once safely buried, is now exposed to the elements. To shield it, a massive modern roof was constructed over the entire archaeological site, but this is no simple canopy. It is a marvel of bioclimatic engineering, designed to protect the ruins from sun and rain, while maintaining a stable environment without massive energy consumption. The roof allows natural light to filter through, illuminating the site without the harshness of the direct sun, and it also promotes natural air circulation, preventing the buildup of heat and humidity that could damage the ancient structures. This building is a silent guardian, a 21st-century structure, designed with incredible care, for the sole purpose of preserving a city from the 17th century BCE. It is a bridge between the ancient past and the technological present. The medieval village of Emporio contains one of the best preserved fortified settlements on the island, and to enter its old quarter is to step into a defensive maze. The design was a direct response to the constant threat of pirate raids. The houses are built one against the other, forming a solid outer wall, and inside this wall, the streets are incredibly narrow and winding. They twist and turn, creating a disorienting labyrinth where, in some places, the upper floors of the houses almost touch, turning the alleys into shadowy tunnels. This was all by design, a maze meant to confuse and trap any attackers who managed to get inside the gates. It is a brilliant example of defensive architecture, where the entire village becomes a fortress. Walking through it today, you can still feel the sense of enclosure and protection that was so vital for survival. The waterfront of Amudi Bay is lined with colorful buildings that now house charming seafood restaurants, a seemingly perfect setting for a meal by the sea. These buildings, however, were originally created for a much more practical purpose. They were sirmata, which are essentially boat garages carved by fishermen directly into the soft rock at the water's edge. At the end of the fishing season, or during a storm, they would pull their precious wooden boats out of the water, and into these shelters for protection. The colorful doors that are so picturesque today were simply a way for each fisherman to identify his own boat garage. The tavernas that occupy these spaces today are a form of adaptive reuse, having repurposed these humble, practical structures, turning the working waterfront of the past into the romantic dining destination of the present. The countryside of Santorini is crisscrossed by a vast network of dark stone walls, which run for thousands of kilometers to create terraces on the island's gentle slopes. These walls are not just boundaries, they are an essential part of the island's agriculture, and they are built from the land itself. To create a field for planting, generations of farmers first had to clear the ground of countless volcanic rocks in a process of back-breaking labor. These resourceful farmers then took the black and red rocks they cleared from the soil and used them to build these dry stone terrace walls. The walls, called xerolithes, serve two purposes. They prevent the precious topsoil from eroding down the hillside, and they create flat, workable areas for cultivation. Each wall is a monument to the labor of generations, a testament to the patient process of turning a rocky, volcanic landscape into a productive farm. Tucked away in the village of Oya is one of the world's most beautiful bookshops, Atlantis Books. From the outside, it appears as a charming, typical Santorini storefront, but when you step inside, you realize you are entering a cave. The bookshop is built directly into the cliff face, occupying a traditional YPOSKAFO, or cave house. The rooms are not square, but follow the organic, curved shapes of the original dwelling, with bookshelves built into the natural alcoves and niches of the whitewashed walls. The space feels cozy, ancient, and full of stories, both in the books and in the walls themselves. It is a perfect fusion of literature and vernacular architecture, a testament to the adaptability of these old structures, proving that a space once used for simple shelter can be transformed into a world-renowned haven for readers, a cave of wonders filled with books. For much of the 20th century, the tiny, intensely flavored Santorini tomato was a cornerstone of the island's agricultural economy. In the village of Lechada, a large factory was built to process this unique crop, turning the small tomatoes into a popular paste that was exported across Greece. The factory was a major source of employment, but as tourism grew and agriculture declined, it eventually closed its doors. Recently, however, the abandoned factory has been given a new life, beautifully restored and transformed into the Tomato Industrial Museum. The original machinery has been preserved and artfully displayed, telling the story of an industry that once thrived here, a story of the island's unique produce and the people who cultivated and processed it. It is a museum dedicated to the memory of a humble, but once vital, fruit. While there are many wine museums in the world, few are as unique as the Koutsoyiannopoulos Wine Museum on Santorini. It is not located in a building, but within the earth itself. The entire museum is housed inside a natural cave, a labyrinth of tunnels that stretches for 300 meters, 8 meters below the ground. This is not an artificial space, but a natural feature of the volcanic landscape, which provides a naturally perfect cellar environment, with a stable temperature and humidity ideal for aging wine. As you walk through the cool subterranean passages, you see exhibits and dioramas that depict the history of winemaking on the island. The museum is a journey through both time and geology, a space where the story of wine is told within the very rock that gives the grapes their distinctive character. It is a truly immersive and underground experience. At the southwestern tip of the island, standing guard over the entrance to the caldera, is the Akrotiri Lighthouse. It is an elegant structure, built in 1892 by a French company, which makes it one of the oldest lighthouses in Greece. It stands as a testament to 19th-century engineering and the importance of maritime safety in the age of steam and sail. Its original lighting mechanism was not electric, but was powered by a petrol engine, a cutting-edge technology for its time, which required the lighthouse keeper to manually operate and maintain it, to keep the light turning. Today the lighthouse is automated, but its tower still stands as a proud landmark, a symbol of the island's deep and enduring connection to the sea. It is a beacon of light that has watched over these waters for more than a century. The most famous sunset spot in Oya is, fittingly, a place of ruins. At the very tip of the village, crowds gather each evening among the crumbling walls of what was once the castle of Agios Nikolaos. This was a Venetian fortress, one of Varan Castelia, built to protect the island from pirates, and it served as the lookout point and first line of defense for the wealthy maritime village. The castle stood here for centuries, as a symbol of power and security, but time, erosion, and the great earthquake of 1956 have left it in ruins. Today, very little of the original structure remains. The crumbling walls and stone archways no longer serve a defensive purpose. Instead, they have become a platform for a daily ritual, the frame through which thousands of people watch the sun sink into the sea. A place of war has become a place of peace. In a landscape dominated by the simple, cubic forms of Cycladic architecture, the Catholic Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Fira stands out as a rare and beautiful example of Baroque design. Its architecture speaks of a different tradition and a different history. The cathedral was built in the early 19th century to serve the island's long-standing Catholic community, a legacy of Venetian rule. Its most distinctive feature is its elegant clock tower, painted in shades of cream and blue, which, with its ornate details and graceful curves, is a clear departure from the stark simplicity of the surrounding Orthodox churches. The cathedral is a landmark that tells a story of cultural layering, a reminder that Santorini is not a monolith, but a place where different European traditions have met, and left their beautiful, and sometimes surprising, architectural marks on the landscape. One of the most frequently photographed architectural details in Fira is a beautiful archway holding 3 bells, which is often mistaken for a standalone monument or a gateway. This iconic structure is actually the bell tower, or campanile, for the nearby church of the Koimisi tis Theotokou. The church itself is a modest building, but its bell tower has become famous. Its perfect arches, brilliant white finish, and the stunning backdrop of the blue caldera, making it a symbol of the island. It is a reminder that in Santorini, beauty is often found in the details. A simple architectural element, designed for the practical purpose of calling people to prayer, can become a work of art. It captures the essence of Cycladic design, where function and beauty are seamlessly intertwined, creating moments of simple, breathtaking elegance against the vastness of the sea and sky. Not all of Santorini's beautiful structures are ancient. In the seaside village of Kamari, there is a beloved modern creation, the open-air cinema. This is not a typical movie theater, but a lush garden, designed as an amphitheater for watching films under the night sky. The space is surrounded by tall eucalyptus trees and fragrant flowers, and instead of typical theater seats, there are comfortable director's chairs, and a bar that serves local wine. It is a place that combines the simple pleasure of watching a movie with the magic of a warm Greek evening. The cinema has become a cherished institution for both locals and visitors, a reminder that new traditions and new beloved places are always being created. It is a modern structure that has captured the relaxed, leisurely spirit of the island, in a beautiful and unique way. The frescoes of Akrotiri are masterpieces of Bronze Age art, depicting a vibrant world of nature, religious ceremonies and daily life. When you visit the archaeological site, you can see the city where these paintings were created, but you will not see the most famous frescoes themselves. Paintings like the Blue Monkeys or the Fisherman are far too fragile to be left in the ruins. To ensure their long-term survival, they were carefully removed, restored, and moved to a modern, climate-controlled environment. They are now housed in the prehistoric Museum of Thera, in the main town of Fira, where they are protected from the humidity, temperature changes, and other environmental threats that could cause them to fade and decay. It is a necessary separation. The body of the city is in one place, but its soul, its art, is carefully preserved in another. At the entrance to the fortified medieval heart of Emporio village, stands a formidable square tower known as the Dei Gulas. It was the keep, the final stronghold of the Castelli. If pirates managed to breach the outer walls and penetrate the labyrinth of streets, the villagers could retreat into this tower for a final defense. It also served as a watchtower, providing a high vantage point to scan the sea for approaching threats. But it was more than just a military structure. The Gulas was also the community's granary. Its thick stone walls kept the interior cool and dry, protecting the village's precious food supply from both invaders and pests. The tower was the heart of the community's security, protecting both its people and their sustenance, and it stands today as a powerful, weathered monument to the anxieties and ingenuity of medieval life on the island. The cave houses of Santorini are not only beautiful, but also incredibly practical, their design a model of natural energy efficiency. The secret lies in the thick layer of volcanic earth that surrounds them, which acts as a powerful form of insulation. In the summer, when the sun beats down on the island, the cave houses remain naturally cool inside, as the earth absorbs the heat and prevents it from penetrating the living space. In the winter, the same principle works in reverse, keeping the warmth from escaping. Because of this natural temperature regulation, many of these homes require very little, or even no, artificial heating or air conditioning. This ancient building technique, born of necessity, is a perfect example of sustainable design, a way of living in harmony with the climate, a lesson in efficiency taught by the land itself. The setting of the sun is more than just the end of the day in Santorini. It is a shared communal ritual. In villages like Oya, a quiet anticipation builds as the afternoon fades, and people find their spot along the cliffs to wait in silent expectation. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant colors, a hush falls over the crowd, in a moment of collective awe. Then, as the final sliver of light disappears, something remarkable often happens. The quiet crowd breaks into spontaneous applause. It is not a loud, boisterous cheer, but a gentle, appreciative clapping. A thank you to the day and a shared acknowledgement of the beauty they have just witnessed. It is a simple, human ritual that transforms a natural event into a moment of connection between strangers, all gathered for the same quiet purpose. Growing grapes on Santorini requires a unique approach, as the island is subject to strong, relentless winds that can shred leaves and damage the fruit, while the summer sun is also incredibly harsh. To protect their precious grapes, vintners developed a special cultivation technique over centuries. They do not stake their vines to grow upwards, but instead weave the long canes of the vine into a low, circular basket shape on the ground, called a caldera. The grapes grow on the inside of this leafy nest, sheltered from the punishing winds, and shielded from the direct sun. The leaves of the basket also help to collect and trap the morning dew, providing a small, but vital source of moisture. This ingenious method is a perfect adaptation to the island's challenging environment, a living tradition of agricultural wisdom passed down through generations. One of the most beloved and elemental dishes in Santorini is fava. But if you're expecting a puree made from fava beans, you will be surprised. The island's fava is not a bean at all, but a unique variety of yellow split pea, Lathyrus climenum, that has been cultivated exclusively on this island for over 3,500 years, with seeds even found in the ruins of Akritari. When these small yellow peas are slowly cooked, they break down into a velvety smooth puree, with a flavor that is delicate, sweet and earthy, completely different from other legumes. Served simply with olive oil, capers and raw onion, this humble dish is a direct taste of the island's history and its unique soil. It is a culinary tradition that has sustained the people of Santorini for millennia, a simple, perfect food born from this volcanic earth. The cherry tomatoes of Santorini are a special variety, uniquely adapted to the island's dry climate. They are small, intensely flavored, and have very thick skins with very little water inside, which makes them less than ideal for eating raw in a salad, as they can be quite firm. In response, the islanders invented a delicious way to use them: tomato keftides, or tomato fritters. The tomatoes are chopped and mixed with herbs like mint and oregano, onion, and a simple batter, then fried into savory, crispy pancakes. The cooking process releases the concentrated, sweet flavor of the tomatoes. These fritters are a staple on every taverna menu, a perfect example of culinary ingenuity created to make the most of a unique, and somewhat difficult, local ingredient. They transform the tough little tomato into something utterly delicious. Throughout the summer months, the villages of Santorini come alive with a special kind of celebration known as a panegyri. These are festivals held to honor the patron saint of the local church, beginning with a religious service. After the service, however, the festival becomes a celebration for the entire community, with long tables set up in the village square. The organizers, often local families or cultural associations, offer free food and wine to everyone who attends. There is traditional live music, with violins and lutes, and people dance late into the night. A panegyri is not a tourist event, but a deeply rooted community ritual, a time for neighbors to gather, to share, and to celebrate their shared identity. It is a beautiful expression of Greek hospitality, and a living link to the island's traditions, a night of simple shared joy. On the evening of Good Friday, during Orthodox Easter week, the village of Pyrgos performs a truly breathtaking ritual. As dusk settles, the entire village prepares for the procession of the Epitaphios, a representation of Christ's bier. As the procession begins to move through the winding streets, a signal is given, and thousands of small, homemade torches in tins are lit all over the village. They are placed on every rooftop, every wall, every church dome, and along the entire path of the procession. The effect is astonishing, as the whole village appears to be on fire, its medieval contours outlined in flickering light. This creates a silent, spectacular river of fire that flows up the hillside, a deeply moving and uniquely Santorinian expression of faith, a ritual of light in the darkness. Vinsanto is the ancient and celebrated sweet wine of Santorini, and its production is a ritual of patience, guided by the sun and by law. The process begins with the harvest of white grapes, primarily Assyrtiko, which are not crushed immediately, but are laid out on large mats to dry in the hot summer sun. They are left for up to 2 weeks, until they shrivel into sweet concentrated raisins, a process that intensifies their sugars and flavors. After pressing, the dense syrupy juice is fermented, and then aged. By law, a Vinsanto must be aged in old oak barrels for a minimum of 2 years, though many producers age it for much longer. This long, slow aging process creates a wine of incredible complexity, with notes of dried fruit, honey and spice, a sweet amber nectar that is the result of sun, time, and ancient tradition. The rhythm of a moody bay is intrinsically tied to the sea. In the very early morning, long before the first tourists arrive for lunch, the bay is a place of quiet, purposeful work. This is when the local fishermen return, their small, traditional boats, called kaikia, motoring into the harbor with a gentle thrum in the dawn stillness. They bring with them the catch of the night, octopus, red mullet, and other local fish. There is no middleman here. The chefs from the seaside tavernas come down to the dock to meet the boats, inspecting the catch and buying the seafood directly from the fishermen who caught it. The fish and octopus go from the boat to the kitchen in a matter of minutes, a simple daily ritual that ensures the food served here is as fresh as it can possibly be, a direct connection between the sea, the fisherman, and the plate. The signature white wine of Santorini is Assyrtiko, a grape that possesses a rare and remarkable talent. Grapes grown in hot climates tend to lose their acidity as they ripen, resulting in wines that can be flat or flabby. Assyrtiko, however, is different. Even when it is fully ripe, bursting with sugar and flavor from the intense Greek sun, it maintains an incredibly high level of acidity. This is its superpower, giving the wine a crisp, refreshing, and distinctly mineral character, a quality that vintners and wine lovers often describe as tasting of the volcano itself. It is a sip of the sea salt, the dry air, and the volcanic rock. This ability to balance ripeness with acidity is what has made Assyrtiko from Santorini one of the most celebrated white wines in the world, a perfect expression of its unique and challenging home. Santorini possesses two distinct rhythms, the high-energy pulse of the summer and the deep, quiet breath of the winter. From November to March, the island transforms as the crowds of tourists vanish and the charter flights stop. Many of the hotels, restaurants and shops close their doors for the season, and the island returns to itself, becoming a quiet, close-knit community once again. The pace of life slows dramatically, and the streets of Oya and Fira, so crowded in July, are now peaceful and nearly empty. It is a time for locals to rest, to repair, and to reconnect with each other. The winter reveals a different side of Santorini, one that is more intimate and personal. It is a time of rest and renewal, a necessary pause before the busy season begins again. The island exhales and is quiet. As dusk begins to settle over the island, a subtle shift occurs in the villages. This is the time for the volta, a cherished Greek ritual. It is not a hurried walk or a form of exercise, but a slow, leisurely stroll, usually along the main walkway of a village. After the heat of the day, people emerge from their homes and shops to walk slowly, with no particular destination in mind. The purpose of the volta is to see and be seen, to greet neighbors, to exchange a few words, and to catch up on the day's news. It is a form of quiet, informal socializing that allows the community to reconnect at the end of the day. You can feel the change in energy as the village comes alive in this gentle, unhurried way, a simple, beautiful rhythm of daily life. In the summer, a powerful and persistent wind often blows across the Aegean Sea, known as the Meltemi. It is a strong, dry, northern wind that can last for days at a time. While it can be a surprise to visitors, for islanders, the Meltemi is an intimate part of life. It provides a welcome relief from the intense summer heat, a form of natural air conditioning. But it is also a powerful force that has shaped the island's character. The architecture, with its small windows and sheltered courtyards, is designed to minimize the wind's impact, while the agriculture, especially the low-growing basket vines, is adapted to withstand its force. The Meltemi is not just weather, it is a defining feature of the island's climate and culture, a constant, invisible presence that dictates the terms of life. In late August, a period of intense activity begins in the vineyards of Santorini. This is the Cancinta Vidima, the annual grape harvest, a time of hard work but also of community. Because the vines are grown low to the ground, the grapes cannot be harvested by machine, every bunch must be picked by hand. This requires a large workforce for a short period, so families, friends and neighbors all gather in the fields to help. The work starts early in the morning to avoid the heat of the day, and there is a sense of urgency and excitement in the air. The Vidima is the culmination of a year's worth of effort, a race against time to bring in the precious crop that will become the year's wine. It is a ritual that connects the people of the island directly to their land and to each other. While most people picture a large, purple vegetable when they think of an eggplant, Santorini has its own unique variety. The white eggplant of Santorini is a local treasure, a beautiful creamy white color and shaped more like a small melon than a typical eggplant. Its uniqueness, however, is more than skin deep. The flavor is remarkably sweet and mild, with none of the bitterness that can sometimes be found in purple varieties, and it also has very few seeds. Most importantly, its flesh is less spongy, which means it absorbs much less oil when fried, making it prized for local recipes like eggplant fritters or moussaka. It is another example of how the island's unique volcanic soil and climate have produced a distinct and delicious version of a familiar vegetable, a culinary specialty found only here. All over the island, growing from cracks in stone walls and tumbling down the sides of cliffs, you can find wild caper bushes. These hardy plants thrive in the island's harsh, dry environment, and for locals, they are a source of a prized culinary ingredient. In the spring and early summer, people forage for the small, unopened flower buds, which are the capers. They are picked by hand, and then pickled in salt or brine, a process that transforms them into the salty, pungent garnish that is a staple of Mediterranean cuisine. Locals also use the leaves of the plant, which are pickled and served in salads. This practice of foraging for capers is a quiet, seasonal ritual, a connection to the wild landscape and a way of gathering a special flavor that grows freely, a gift from the rocky earth. The true soundtrack of Santorini is not music or traffic, but the sound of bells. The island is said to have more than 600 churches and chapels, and each one has at least one bell. Throughout the day, these bells ring out across the landscape, serving as the island's natural clock, marking the hours and calling people to prayer. A single bell might ring from a tiny private chapel on a cliffside, while a chorus of bells might ring from the grand cathedral in Fira. The sound travels on the wind, connecting the villages to each other. It is a sound that is both a public announcement and an intimate part of daily life, a constant, gentle reminder of the deep faith and history that are woven into the fabric of the island. The air itself seems to carry this gentle metallic music. In Greece, there is a celebration that is often considered more important than a birthday. This is the name day, or onomastiki, EORTI, the feast day of the saint after whom a person is named. If your name is Ioannis, for example, you celebrate on the feast day of St. John. On this day, it is tradition to have an open house, where friends, neighbors, and relatives stop by without a formal invitation to offer their good wishes. The host offers small treats, like sweets or a glass of liqueur, to all who come. It is a day of casual, warm, and constant hospitality, a beautiful ritual that reinforces the bonds of community and friendship. It is less about the individual being celebrated, and more about the act of sharing and connecting with the people in your life. The donkeys of Santorini have become a symbol of the island's tourism, but it is important to remember their original and vital role. For centuries, these animals were not a tourist attraction, they were the backbone of the island's economy and its primary mode of transport. In a landscape of steep cliffs and narrow paths, donkeys were the only way to move heavy goods, carrying water from the cisterns, grapes from the vineyards, and building materials for the houses. They were essential partners in the daily struggle for survival, their strength and sure-footedness helping to build this island. Today their role has changed, but their presence is a living link to the island's pre-industrial past, a reminder of a time when the pace of life was slower, and the relationship between humans and animals was one of mutual dependence and hard work. The main port of Athenios serves as the island's lifeline to the outside world. Several times a day, a massive ferryboat will appear on the horizon, and its arrival and departure is a daily pulse of organized chaos. As the ferry approaches, the port, which may have been quiet just moments before, springs to life with cars, trucks, and foot passengers lining up to board. When the huge ramp of the ferry crashes down onto the dock, a wave of vehicles and people pours off the boat and onto the island. For a few intense minutes, the port is a whirlwind of movement and noise. Then, just as quickly, the ferry is loaded, the ramp comes up, and the boat pulls away, leaving the port quiet once again. It is a powerful, daily ritual of connection and separation, the island's rhythmic inhale and exhale. The village of Oya is famous for its sunsets, but it has another, quieter identity as a haven for artists. For decades, the incredible light, the dramatic landscapes, and the tranquil atmosphere have drawn painters, sculptors and jewelers from all over the world. This artistic rhythm is a subtle but persistent part of the village's character. Tucked away in the winding back alleys, away from the main tourist path, you can find dozens of small, independent art galleries. They are quiet spaces, often built into old cave houses, that showcase contemporary work inspired by the island itself, the light, the sea, the architecture. In the evenings, the warm light from these galleries spills out into the quiet lanes, inviting you to step inside and see the island through an artist's eyes. For locals on Santorini, the day often begins with a trip to the Volcanoes, the neighborhood bakery, a fundamental morning ritual. The air inside is warm and filled with the comforting smell of freshly baked bread, and the baker, who has been working since long before dawn, greets a steady stream of customers. People come not just for a loaf of bread, but for the savory pies that are a staple of the Greek breakfast, such as spanakopita, filled with spinach and feta, or tiropita, filled with local cheeses. These warm, flaky pastries are the perfect start to the day. The morning trip to the bakery is more than just a food run. It is a moment of community, a chance to exchange a greeting, and to participate in a simple, delicious rhythm of daily life. In the middle of a hot summer afternoon, a deep quiet descends upon the villages of Santorini, as the bustling morning activity fades away, and the streets become still. This is the time when many of the small, family-run shops close their doors for a few hours. This is not a sign of laziness, but a practical and wise response to the climate, a long-standing Mediterranean tradition of the afternoon siesta. It is a rhythm that respects the power of the midday sun. Shopkeepers go home to have lunch with their families, and to rest during the hottest part of the day, reopening in the late afternoon, refreshed, and ready for the evening. This daily pause is a part of the island's charm, a reminder that in some places, the rhythms of life are still dictated by the sun, rather than by the clock. Every year, usually in August, Santorini commemorates the event that created it with the Ifestia festival, a massive celebration that recreates the great Minoan eruption. Thousands of people gather on the cliffs of the caldera to watch. As darkness falls, boats with flares and fireworks sail to the volcano in the center of the bay. And then the show begins. A spectacular fireworks display is launched from the volcano itself, with explosions, lights and sounds, all designed to simulate the eruption. Red fireworks mimic lava flows down the sides of the volcano, as loud bangs echo across the water. It is a stunning and powerful performance, a way for the island to acknowledge its violent birth, taming the memory of the volcano by turning it into a beautiful, controlled spectacle of light and sound. It is a celebration of survival. For many local men, the clear, deep waters of the caldera are not just for looking at. They are a place for a quiet and solitary pastime, spearfishing. It is a skill that is often passed down from father to son. On a calm day, you might see a lone swimmer, snorkel in mouth, moving slowly along the rocky coastline. They are hunting, and with a spear gun in hand, they dive down, looking for octopus hiding in the rocks, or for fish swimming in the deep blue. This is not a sport of high technology, but a primal, patient activity that requires a deep knowledge of the sea and its creatures. For many, it is a form of meditation, a way to connect with the marine environment, and at the end of the day, a way to bring home a fresh, delicious octopus for the family dinner. While the summer on Santorini is focused on the grape harvest, the winter brings another important agricultural ritual: the olive harvest. The island is dotted with ancient, gnarled olive trees, often owned by families for generations. In the late autumn and early winter, after the tourists have gone, families gather in their groves, laying large nets on the ground under the trees. They then use small rakes or their hands to comb the olives from the branches, and the sound of the olives falling onto the nets is a characteristic sound of the Santorini winter. The collected olives are taken to the local press, where they are turned into a vibrant green peppery olive oil that will be the family's supply for the entire year. It is a fundamental rhythm of life, a harvest that provides a taste of the island's winter sun. On the island of Santorini, there is a common saying that you will often hear, which claims that the island produces more wine than it has fresh water, and that wine is consequently cheaper than water. While this might be a slight exaggeration, it points to a fundamental truth about life here. The volcanic soil and unique grape varieties are perfectly suited for viticulture, producing a relative abundance of wine. Conversely, the island has no natural rivers, and very little rainfall, making fresh water an incredibly scarce and precious resource that for centuries had to be collected in cisterns, or brought in by ship. This simple saying perfectly encapsulates the paradox of Santorini. It is a place of liquid abundance and liquid scarcity, existing at the very same time. Another local saying you might hear on Santorini is that there are more churches than houses, and more wine than water. The first part of that saying feels true when you explore the island, which is home to over 600 churches and chapels dotted across the landscape. They are everywhere, in the villages, on the cliff tops, and in the middle of fields. Many of these are not large community churches, but tiny, private chapels built by sailors or ship captains as a tama, a sacred promise. A sailor caught in a terrible storm would promise to build a chapel in honor of a saint if they were saved, and upon their safe return, they would fulfill their vow. Each of these tiny chapels is a monument to a prayer that was answered, a story of fear and gratitude built in stone. One of the most famous and unusual beaches on Santorini is the Red Beach, or Kokini Paralia, where the sight upon arrival is truly startling. The sand is a deep, rusty red, and it is backed by a towering cliff of the same color, creating a landscape that looks as if it belongs on the planet Mars. This is not an artificial creation or a trick of the light. The beach and the cliffs are made of pulverized volcanic rock that is extremely rich in iron. Over time, the iron has oxidized or rusted, creating the dramatic red hue. The beach is a direct and colorful expression of the island's unique geology, a reminder that the volcano that created Santorini did not just produce black and gray rock, but a whole palette of mineral colors. It is a beach painted by the volcano itself, a strange and beautiful geological wonder. On the southeastern coast of the island, you will find the long, sweeping beaches of Perissa and Perivolos, but you will not find golden sand here. The sand on these beaches is black, composed of tiny smooth pebbles of volcanic material, the eroded remnants of ancient lava flows. The effect is visually stunning, a stark contrast to the blue of the sea, but this black sand has a very practical consequence. On a hot summer day, it absorbs the sun's heat with incredible efficiency, becoming so hot that it is impossible to walk on without shoes. You can see the heat shimmering above the ground, a physical, tangible reminder that you are walking on the ground-up rock of a volcano. The beach is not just a place of leisure, it is a direct connection to the fiery origins of the island. The vibrant frescoes of Akrotiri are one of the great treasures of the ancient world, but they were not discovered intact. When the volcano erupted, the force of the explosion and the subsequent collapse of the buildings shattered the plaster walls into thousands of pieces. For the archaeologists and conservators who found them, the task was immense. They had to collect every single fragment, no matter how small, and then begin the real work in the laboratory. They had to reassemble the frescoes from these countless broken pieces, like working on thousands of giant, three-dimensional jigsaw puzzles, but with no picture on the box, and many of the pieces missing. It was a painstaking process that took decades of patient work. The beautiful, complete frescoes we see in the museum today are the result of this incredible, meticulous labor of love and science. The island is known to the world as Santorini, a name that evokes images of white villages and blue domes. If you are Greek, however, or if you look at an official Greek government map, you will see a different name. The official name of the island is Thera. This is its ancient Greek name, used long before the Venetians arrived and nicknamed it after Santorini, and it is said to come from Theras, a mythical Spartan hero who colonized the island. Today, the two names exist side by side. Santorini is the romantic, international name, the brand name for tourism, while Thera is the formal, official name used on legal documents and road signs. This small detail speaks to the island's layered identity, a place with both a modern, global persona and an ancient, local soul. In the past, taxes on Santorini were not always straightforward, as authorities would levy different rates on different types of property, with houses often taxed more heavily than agricultural buildings. This led to a clever form of architectural tax evasion. A family wanting to build a new home might first construct a caldera, a space for making and storing wine. They would declare it as such to be taxed at the lower rate, and then, once the caldera was established, they would quietly move in and start living in it. They would convert the space for wine production into a space for human habitation, all while it was still officially registered as a winery. It was a small act of rebellion and economic ingenuity, a way of using a building's official identity to save a little money. The Santorini cherry tomato, or tomataki, is a culinary treasure, but if you are expecting a perfectly round little fruit, you will be surprised. The local variety has a very distinctive shape. It is not a sphere, but is instead small, flattened, and has noticeable ribs or grooves, looking a bit like a tiny red pumpkin. This unusual shape is a direct result of its adaptation to the island's unique growing conditions, a variety that has evolved to thrive in a water-scarce environment. The concentrated flavor and low water content that make it so prized for cooking are linked to this specific form. The shape is a signature, a physical manifestation of the tomato's long history on this dry volcanic soil. It is a fruit that wears its story on its skin. The story of the Atlantis Books bookstore in Oya is as charming as the shop itself. It was not founded by a local family or a savvy businessperson, but was started in 2004 by a group of friends from America and England. They were on vacation on the island, enjoying its beauty, when they ran into a problem. They had finished all the books they had brought with them, and couldn't find a good English-language bookstore to buy more. Instead of just complaining, they had a wild idea, and decided to open their own. They found an empty building, pooled their money, and started a bookshop. What began as a solution to a holiday problem has since become one of the most famous and beloved independent bookstores in the world, a testament to the power of a good idea, and the magic of a place that inspires people to do wonderful, slightly crazy things. Flying into Santorini is an experience you will not soon forget, as the island's airport has a notoriously short runway. It is built on a flat piece of land, but that land is flanked on one side by the sea, and on the other by a steep cliff, requiring a precise and careful approach from pilots. For passengers, especially those sitting by the window, it can be a uniquely thrilling experience. On the final approach, the wingtip of the plane can feel unnervingly close to the water or the rising terrain, as if you are landing on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Aegean. It is a dramatic and slightly heart-stopping welcome to the island. The landing itself is a reminder of Santorini's geography. It is a place of dramatic verticals, where flat, buildable land is a rare and precious commodity. The agricultural terraces that cover the hillsides of Santorini are held in place by thousands of kilometers of stone walls, which are masterpieces of an ancient and disappearing craft. They are called taxima xerolithes, which means martyru dry stones, because they are built without any mortar, cement or binding agent whatsoever. The technique relies on the skill of the builder to choose and place each stone perfectly, finding rocks that fit together like pieces of a puzzle, using only friction and gravity to create a stable structure. This knowledge was passed down from father to son for generations. Each wall is a testament to this incredible skill, both a practical agricultural tool and a work of folk art, a beautiful, textured pattern inscribed on the landscape by human hands, using only the stones that the land provided. As you wander through the villages of Santorini, you will quickly notice that you are not alone, for the island is home to a massive population of stray cats. They are everywhere, sleeping on warm walls, lounging in doorways, and weaving through the tables at outdoor cafes. These cats are not just tolerated, they are a beloved, unofficial mascot of the island, and a shared community responsibility. A network of local residents, dedicated volunteers, and even tourists works to care for them, leaving out bowls of food and water on doorsteps. There are organizations that work to spay, neuter, and provide medical care for the cats. They have become part of the island's charm, a furry, independent, and ever-present feature of the landscape, adding another layer of life and movement to the quiet alleys and sun-drenched squares. In the days before doorbells and security cameras, the women of Santorini had a clever way of keeping an eye on the street. In traditional homes, a small, angled mirror was often placed on the outside of a window, a simple but ingenious device known as a spy mirror. It was a kind of domestic periscope. From inside the house, a woman could look at the mirror and see a reflection of who was at her front door, or who was passing by in the narrow lane outside, allowing her to maintain her privacy and observe the world without being seen herself. These mirrors are a small, fascinating detail of social history, speaking of a time when life was lived in close quarters, and when a little bit of information, gathered discreetly, could be a very valuable thing. Before the modern port of Athenios was built with its large docks and ramps, getting goods and animals onto the island was a much more chaotic affair. The old port below Fira was small and often crowded, so ships would have to anchor in the bay, while smaller boats ferried their cargo to the shore. For large animals like donkeys or mules, this presented a problem, and sometimes the simplest solution was to get the animal as close to the shore as possible, and then push it into the sea. The animal would then have to swim the final short distance to the beach. It is a strange and slightly comical image to imagine. A donkey paddling its way to shore. It is a small, almost forgotten detail that illustrates the practical, and sometimes harsh, realities of life and transport in a pre-modern island economy. The Great Earthquake of 1956 left scars all over the island, both visible and invisible. One of the most poignant and specific marks of the disaster was on the Orthodox Cathedral in Fira, where the powerful tremor shook the building and bent the large metal cross on top of its main dome at a sharp angle. In the aftermath of the quake, as the island began the long process of rebuilding, a decision was made to leave the cross exactly as it was, crooked. It was not repaired immediately, but was left as a memorial, a silent, visible reminder of the power of the earthquake and the devastation it had caused. It was a symbol of the island's brokenness, but also of its survival. Eventually the cross was straightened, but for those who remember, it remains a powerful symbol of that terrible day. In 2005, the village of Oya was introduced to a new generation of travelers through the popular movie, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. The film, which follows four friends who share a magical pair of jeans, used Oya as the primary filming location for one of its storylines, capturing its stunning beauty and romantic atmosphere. The movie was a huge success, and it created a powerful new image of the island in the popular imagination. For many younger viewers, their first glimpse of the blue domes and white cliffs was through this film. It cemented the island's status as a dream destination, a place of summer romance and life-changing experiences. A simple pair of jeans in a movie helped to launch 1,000 new travel dreams, all directed towards this one small, beautiful village. One of the first things you might notice about the landscape of Santorini is what is missing. There are almost no natural forests or tall trees. The island is largely devoid of the kind of lush greenery you might see on other Greek islands. The native vegetation is low, hardy and tough, consisting of scrubland, thorny bushes and small, resilient herbs. This is not because the soil is poor, it is rich in minerals, but because the environment is so harsh. The lack of water, the intense summer sun, and the constant powerful winds make it almost impossible for tall trees to survive. The plants that do grow here have adapted over centuries, remaining low to the ground, with deep roots and small leaves. The landscape is a testament to survival in a challenging environment, a beauty that is stark, minimal and strong. The Fira cable car is a modern convenience that saves a long, hot walk up the cliff. But it has a small secret, known mostly to the locals who use it every day. The cable car actually has two different speed settings. There is a slow, scenic speed, which is used for the tourist-filled cars to allow passengers to take photos and enjoy the breathtaking view as they ascend or descend. Then there is a faster, more practical speed. When the car is filled with island residents or workers who are not interested in the view, the operator can switch to the faster setting. For them, the cable car is not a ride. It is public transport, and they just want to get to the top or the bottom as quickly as possible. It is a small, practical distinction between seeing the island and living on it. In the village of Mesa Gonia, sometimes known as the Ghost Village, After the 1956 earthquake, there stands a haunting monument to that disaster. It is the skeletal ruin of a large church. Before the earthquake, the community was in the process of building a new grand church, an ambitious project that was halted on that fateful day in 1956. Construction never resumed, as the village was largely abandoned by residents, who moved to the newly built coastal town of Kamari. Today, the unfinished concrete frame of the church still stands, open to the sky, with weeds growing where the altar would have been. It is a powerful and eerie sight, a modern ruin, that serves as a monument, not to a distant past, but to a specific, traumatic moment in the island's recent history, a project frozen in time by the shaking of the earth. Santorini is famous for its commercial wineries, which export their award-winning bottles all over the world. There is, however, a whole other world of wine production that exists completely outside of this system. A surprising number of local families make their own wine for personal consumption, known as hema wine, which means bulk or unbarreled. It is made in small batches, often in basements or small sheds, using family traditions passed down through generations. This wine is not aged in oak, and is not meant for long-term storage. It is a simple rustic wine, made to be drunk young with family and friends. This tradition of homemade wine is a quiet domestic ritual, a connection to the land, and to a way of life that predates the modern wine industry. A taste of the island that you will never find in a store. When archaeologists uncovered the Blue Monkeys fresco at Akrotiri, they were baffled. The painting is beautiful, depicting a troop of monkeys climbing on rocks, but the monkeys are painted a vibrant cobalt blue, and more importantly, monkeys are not native to Greece or the Aegean. Their natural habitats are in Africa or Asia. The presence of these monkeys in Minoan art suggests that this ancient society was not isolated, but had sophisticated trade and cultural contacts with distant civilizations, possibly in North Africa or the Middle East. The artist may have seen a live monkey brought to the island by a trader, or perhaps a depiction of one on an imported object. These strange blue creatures are a clue, a tantalizing hint of a complex, interconnected Bronze Age world that we are only just beginning to understand. It is difficult to comprehend the scale of the Minoan eruption that destroyed the island of Strongheil. We can try to put it in perspective by comparing it to other famous volcanic eruptions. The 1883 eruption of Krakatoa in Indonesia was one of the most powerful and deadly in modern history, a cataclysmic event that was heard thousands of miles away. The eruption that created Santorini, however, was by scientific estimates up to 8 times more powerful than Krakatoa. The sheer volume of rock and ash ejected was immense, making it one of the largest volcanic events in recorded human history. The sound would have been deafening, and the effects on the global climate would have been significant. It was not just an eruption. It was a planetary event. The quiet, peaceful caldera we see today is the scar left by an explosion of almost unimaginable force. The white aubergine of Santorini is unique not just for its color, but for its taste and texture. It is remarkably sweet and mild, with none of the bitter aftertaste that some purple varieties can have. In fact, it is so sweet, and has so few seeds, that it can even be eaten raw, thinly sliced in a salad. The most surprising use for this vegetable, however, is in a dessert. Some local confectioners and home cooks use the white eggplant to make a glycotucutalio, or a spoon sweet. This is a traditional Greek preserve, where fruit or vegetables are slowly cooked in a sugar syrup, transforming the eggplant into a sweet, translucent, and delicious confection, often flavored with cinnamon or cloves. It is a testament to the vegetable's unique properties, and to the culinary creativity of the island's cooks, who can turn an eggplant into a dessert. The small port of Amudi Bay is nestled at the bottom of a dramatic red cliff, 300 steps below the village of Oya. It is famous for its seafood tavernas and charming harbor, but it also offers one of the most unique swimming experiences on the island. A short walk from the main harbor leads to a rocky outcrop from which you can dive into the deep, clear water of the caldera. What makes this spot so special is the view. As you float in the water, you can look directly up at the towering red cliffs, and the whitewashed village of Oya clinging to the top. It is one of the few places where you can swim and have this iconic view at the same time, giving you a completely different perspective on the island's geography, and a sense of the immense scale of the cliffs from below. The Gula Tower at the entrance to Emporio's old town was the village's primary defensive structure, serving as a watchtower and a final refuge in case of a pirate attack. Its thick, sturdy walls, however, served another, equally important purpose. The tower was also the community's food silo. The interior was used to store grain, particularly barley and wheat, and the thick stone walls provided excellent insulation, keeping the grain cool and dry throughout the year. This protected the precious food supply from spoiling in the heat, and kept it safe from pests like rats and insects. And, of course, it kept it safe from pirates, who would have been just as interested in stealing the village's food as its other valuables. The tower was a fortress for both people and their sustenance. Our walk through Santorini is coming to an end. Wherever you've drifted to, you don't need to come back. There's nothing more to listen for tonight. Sleep well.